And I'm going to go ahead and unmute my microphone just to enhance the experience here. Today we're doing BeamNG.drive. And we covered a video made with this game on the Machinima podcast that I'm a part of. Covered it a few weeks ago, I guess. And kind of came away with and it was the video was made by the creator of the game to kind of show it off. And it basically is like, it's car crash porn, basically, you know? And so we kind of got the feeling from that, well, that's what this game is about. But maybe not necessarily so, the more I've dug into it. But the reason that I was intrigued by this game is, does it have feasible use as a tool for making machinima or, video, making movies with games? So, well, let's just dive in and just take a look at the game itself. We're just going to go into free mode. There are other ways to play this game, but we're just going to start off by just going into free mode. And let's just let's go to Italy. And we will just pick, that looks nice. So you basically, in free mode, you just open up, the general map that you want to go to. It'll tell you what the size of the location is. This one is a 2.5 by 2.5 miles, 6.5 square miles. And it's, a lot of these are modeled after real places. Users have the ability to create their own maps. It's a pretty involved process, but there's quite a few. This game has been around for over 10 years now. It was originally released in 2013. And there's a pretty decent user community that's built up around it. And they create maps or additional vehicles, different scenarios that you can play. And it's the people who like the game, they really like it. They create stuff for it on a regular basis. So when you first load it up, it takes a little while. Oh, hey, Phil. Welcome. Yeah, the game's been around since 2013. It's I don't know if it was one of those where it was early access. Maybe it's still considered a beta. The version number up there starts with a 0.33, so I guess it probably is. It's one of those that, they're developing it while it's out. So there's no drivers in the cars. There is a mod that you can activate that puts crash test dummies in there, or fully clad stunt drivers. But they're basically just rag dolls that sit inside the vehicle. You can do keyboard controls in this game, keyboard and mouse. They're not, when I launched the game, the bindings were not defined to any standard that I was used to. So I had to kind of reconfigure them, and then even when I did so, it's really, really difficult to control the vehicles well. Mainly because you really need to be able to do gradual turning or gradual hitting the gas and the brakes and such. And you can't really do that with keyboard. It's just binary. It's either you're turning left or you're not. Or either you're hitting the gas or you're not, and it's really challenging to control the vehicles well in that scenario. So the first time I played it, I tried to play it that way, and yeah, it ended in disaster. The other thing that's interesting about this game is, unlike, let's say, GTA, if you're playing Grand Theft Auto, you can beat up the car quite a bit before it's finally going to give out on you and not work anymore. This game attempts to be a little bit more realistic with the destruction physics. And as a result, yeah, you can't beat up the car and expect to get away with it. It's not very forgiving in that regard. Now, there's probably a way to tweak that setting so that the car is so it's more of an arcade style experience, you know? But I think part of the appeal of this game for the people that play it is that it's a more realistic physics, particularly when you crash. The vehicle, whoops. I got to remember how to hit the brake. That would be helpful. When you crash, the car can like come apart. I mean, it's really something. But the scenery in this game is rather nice. I would put the graphical look of it right on par with like Grand Theft Auto 5, which is about a 10-year-old game. I'm using a gamepad, it's an Xbox style gamepad, but it's just plugged into a USB port. That seems to be the best experience. There's probably a way to do it with joystick. I just don't have a joystick anymore. But and so one of the knobs controls the camera. One of them is the actual steering, as you can see there. And then, you know, there's a button for putting it in park or putting it in drive. I haven't figured out yet how to do manual transmission, and which I think I would prefer to do, but for the purposes that I'm using it for, I'm just leaving it in automatic. But I think you could probably get more out of these vehicles by manually shifting and such. So speaking of vehicles, you can at any time in any of these maps, you can just go in and pick a vehicle. And each one of these vehicles in the main menu here has several options. Usually it's just color modifications. In some instances, I think the engines are modified as well, like maybe a little bit more souped up. And then in some cases, the body has a lot of variation to it. So this is like a passenger van, right? But if you scroll down here, there's a box truck version and an ambulance. And they all handle pretty much the same way in that class of vehicles. And then when you select a vehicle, you can either abandon the one you're in, like abandon it on the side of the road and spawn a new one in, or you can replace the current vehicle, which is what we'll do here. And then it just loads that in, and you're off to the races. Literally. So again, there's no, thinking about it from a Machinima point of view, there's no passengers in these vehicles. And to me, thinking about incorporating this as a tool within the scope, like obviously you can't produce a whole Machinima in here, not anything that's about anything other than cars. But if you wanted to use it as like for a driving scene in a movie, it's not terribly practical for that because of the fact that there's no passengers and there's not really an effective way to like import a character and execute the Machinima within here when there's people involved. There's probably legitimate reasons why they don't put people in this. Probably, well, it could get pretty graphic pretty quick, I think. So, where did you see? The Dream Machine down here. Yeah, there's quite a variety of vehicles to choose from in here. And they do indeed handle very differently. Like the pickup that they start you off in is kind of a nicely balanced vehicle, easy to control. The bigger ones are harder to steer. You have to plan ahead for your turns. People do mod the cars. And obviously skinning is going to be comparatively easy to do, but people bring in entire vehicles, they'll publish those as freely available mods, and it's pretty elaborate. Now that process does not look accessible to someone with my skill set, like bringing in a vehicle. It's very, very complicated. It's not just get an OBJ of the vehicle's shape and pop it in here. It's not going to work. You basically have to model it with some specifications in mind to help the vehicle break up when it needs to for the crashing. And I did kind of looked through what that process was like, and it's like, wow. It's amazing that as many people are doing these as they want. You can also modify the maps and create whole maps. There's different ones. Let's see. If we go back to the main menu here, I think this Desert Highway one was one that I downloaded that's user-made. Endless Highway is just kind of a silly one. It's just a very long straight road. There was another one that was... Yeah, there we go. Roane County, Tennessee. This Italy map that we were on was 6.5 square miles. This user-made Roane County one is 175 square miles. It's just gigantic. And apparently they modeled it after that actual county in Tennessee. There's one for Utah here. None of the included maps are anywhere near the size of what people are doing with the user-made maps. Including this Desert Highway one's 125 square miles. And this is just a lot of open roads. On this one, the guy who made this desert map, he couldn't get it to perform well without removing all vegetation. So it's pretty barren. But the roads are really nice, and the mountains and everything look good, but he had to scrap all the vegetation just to get it to perform right. Which, it's not that it's not possible to make that work, it's just probably just was more work than he wanted to put into it. So it's a fidgety business to modify those maps. Now there is something in here called a track builder, where you can actually do some modification of an existing map, or I think you can probably start a brand new one. And then there's a method. I've seen videos of people bringing in models for like props, you know, buildings and such. But even that it's a pretty daunting, pretty involved process, because you have to, in order to get them to perform properly, you have to create at least a couple different LOD, or level of detail, versions of those models. And you've got a lot of control over that. Like, I mean, you set the distance of when the LOD kicks in and stuff. And to get it looking good is is very challenging. But it's doable. You know, someone who was determined to do so could definitely do so. So, from a machinima point of view, let's factor out the fact that I'm having trouble coming up with a scenario where this would be useful if I can't put my people in there. Because, you know, for me, if I would wanted to film a driving scene, I'd want the people to be talking. And that would be a little bit more involved. And frankly, I don't know what the path is for that, if there even is one, because you can't, like, bring in a rigged character model from Character Creator 4 or something. You can't export it and bring it in here and make any use of it. Like, at best, you might be able to bring in a still version of the model, but there's no mechanism for, you know, making that happen. This isn't animation software. It's not intended to do that. So something that is interesting is, well, let's see, how should we start? If we were to, there is a mod. Let me just get the camera right here. There is a mod that will let you export a vehicle in, forgive me if I get this extension wrong, but like I think it's GLTB is the thing, where you can export the vehicle as that. But what's interesting is if we wreck the vehicle, let's just stop. All right, so the vehicle is now severely damaged. If we were to run that export routine, I'm not going to do it now because the outcome is not, it's not terribly nice. But if you wreck a vehicle like this and then you run that export tool, it will export the vehicle in this state, in the wrecked state. However you've damaged the vehicle, however you've done it, even if it's in multiple pieces, like the bumper is sitting over there, it'll export it like this. However, for many of the vehicles that I tried that with, it does not export the textures. So you end up with just a mesh of this vehicle, but you have to go hunting for the textures yourself. And if it's a customized vehicle, then, you know, good luck with that. Like it's not a point and click process for sure. So the ratio of work to benefit of, okay, I want this vehicle wrecked and then now I'm going to bring it over and use it as an OBJ basically in my animation. It might be handy in that it would be almost impossible to find a vehicle that looks exactly like this one in this state right now, right? And you can do some pretty terrific bang-ups of vehicles in this game. And then if you were to figure out a pipeline for that, you could export those and make really interesting use of them. Now, you can't obviously animate the wrecks, but you would at least have the wrecked vehicle. So that's potentially helpful and useful. So let's reload our scene here. We'll go East Coast, USA. This is fine. And then we'll spawn in a vehicle, and I'll show you the replay functionality, which is interesting. It's essentially, it's recamming. If you're familiar with that term from the ancient days of Machinima, you know, like when basically in certain games you could and can record demos, they call them, and then play those back within the game. And the recording isn't actually a video; it's a log of events that happened, and then it will replay that action in the engine. And then if you have the right modding tools or modding ability, you could then edit those events and change the way they went down and things like that. We used to do that in Quake 2 back in the day. Well, GTA 5 and GTA 4 and GTA 5 both have their director's mode, and it's kind of the same concept as that, old school Machinima concept. You can't really easily change the events in a GTA 4 or GTA 5 recording, but you can definitely do all kinds of custom stuff with the camera. And that's essentially what you've got with the recording package in this. So this is technically it's a mod, but it's a mod that ships with the game. And you have to get access to its controls, you have to go into the user interface apps area here. And then you go to edit apps, and I can't remember where I think there's a list of them here. I don't even remember where I found it, but it's you basically, oh, there we go, add app. And there's all these different things that most of them are for tracking certain statistics or different types of just user interface for the cars. But one of them is the replay app, which I've already got loaded. It's right here in this upper right corner. And that's just going to let us know when we're recording. And you can start and stop the recording with the mouse, but the shortcut key for it is F2. So if we get back into the regular game here, we can hit F2 and then we can just start recording. And by the way, there is a way to turn traffic on, which I'll do in a little bit. I've got it turned off by default. It's just it's a little easier to not completely destroy the vehicle with the way I'm driving and with no sound on my ears and things like that. So you hit F2 again to stop recording. And now that replay is saved. And it's saved as a relatively small file. Because, again, it's not video. It's just recording the events that are happening. And since the only vehicle here is mine, the events are pretty small. So we can go back to the main menu and go under Replays. And then there it is. And yeah, that's actually a pretty decent sized file, 9 megs. But once you've opened up a replay, then you can play it back. You've got controls up here. You can change the speed. You can, it's all the events that we just recorded. And this would be the case if there was other cars, if there were any accidents that happened, any events that happened whatsoever. They're all there, and they just replay in the engine again. And then there is a way to use some different camera commands. The number pad lets you rotate the camera around in a few different ways. There's a way to plant cameras like a still camera and alternate between them. I think F8 is where you can drop a camera. Yeah, and it drops the camera right where the player was. It may even stay inside the car. I'm not sure. Is it moving? Oh, no, it's not moving yet. So yeah, we've placed a still camera there, and you can place any number of those, and then there's keys to basically alternate between the different cameras that you've dropped, that kind of thing. So if we hit C, it's toggling through various different preset cameras. So if you ever played Need for Speed back in the day on the PlayStation, that's what these preset cameras remind me of. Like this one is kind of an automated cinematic camera. It's just doing all this automatically. Now there's some issues sometimes. You see some of the texture flashing and stuff like that. The engine's not perfect in that regard. Now it may be that there's some settings that you could tweak to make that work a little better. But yeah, there's a camera within the vehicle, the default one behind it, the chase camera they call it. There's an orbit camera, and you can move it around as you go. So within this game, or within this, yeah, it's a game, there is a way to script the you can attach cameras to cars, that's right, and basically you can attach them to any number of vehicles, not just the one that you drove, but any number of vehicles in the scene, or just have them be still, or have them hovering overhead like a helicopter. And then there's a way to script the changes of cameras. It's a pretty involved process. It's not, if you've ever used the editor within GTA, that's all done pretty easily through the interface, and it's kind of limited too, right? You can only be so far from the action from your player when you're editing a replay in GTA, and in this there doesn't seem to be any such limit. However, once you do get far enough away, the LOD information starts changing based on where the player was. So you do notice it, but it's a much wider berth you get to move around and take in the action. So you can get some very far off shots of the action and things like that, and as well as very, very close up ones. So one of the things that, let's see if we can find, yeah, so one of the things that I thought about doing was, if you think about the way that traffic stuff was done, well, frankly, all the way up through the 1970s at least, it was always with the car was still and then projection screens. In fact, I think a fair number of driving scenes today are still done that way. And so the car is just sitting still, but you have something behind it, like it's in front of a green screen essentially. And so you got the projection driving. So I thought, well, someone could record a demo of basic driving. We'll let this thing get going here. And so we've got a view out the window, right? Now the problem is we can still see bits of the car. So what you can do is go into, this thing has a feature called the World Editor. And it's a way to go in and tweak individual objects, make things appear and disappear that are in the scene and things like that. And you can do it within the context of a replay as well. Like not only just for the live driving experience, but we've got a replay open right now. So if I hit F11 to open the World Editor, there's going to be a scene hierarchy here. Just like, I mean, it's very similar to what you might see in iClone. And all you have to do, if I can remember where, yeah, I think it's here. So we've found ourselves in this scene hierarchy, the player. And if we go over here and check hidden for the car, and then back out of the World Editor, now the car, our player's car, is invisible. And so if we wanted to capture footage for, wherever, for behind the vehicle or whatnot, you could capture a really nice image for that, and then you could capture the same drive from the front. Now obviously you want to make sure that you drive well, not all jerky like I was doing, because those steering corrections you see me doing there, that's not going to work real well. And that's where the benefit of the smoothness of a controller, when you're actually paying attention to what you're doing, can be really helpful. You can change the field of view on this and all of that. So my thinking was, okay, if I wanted to use this to capture some projection screen stuff, this would be very good for that. Because then all the factors of, well, there's no people in the cars, and even with cars passing by, if you weren't going to linger on it, you could either put the dummies in the cars, or you could just leave them empty, and probably no one would even know or notice. I think that probably works best. That would work best for a rural scene, driving through the desert or driving through, outside the city landscape. If you tried to do this within one of the cities and there's no pedestrians and all the cars passing by are empty, that's not going to be a very convincing look. But if you just needed someone driving across the countryside and who else was in the shot doesn't matter as much, could be pretty useful for that. Now, this thing also has... When I first got this game, I'd only seen the video of the guy doing car crashes, and so I just thought, well, that's all it was. But there's actual scenarios in here where this thing is actually properly like a game. And scenarios are basically just situations. It's a particular map, and you're given a particular vehicle, and there's objectives. So one of them might be the one that's called Climbing Utah, crawl through a difficult path. So it's just as simple as doing something difficult off-road. There's another one here where it's you're chasing, one car is chasing the other. I saw one earlier where you're trying to stop a runaway truck. Is it this one? Yeah, you've got a police car and you've got to try and stop this delivery truck that's, I guess, running from the law. There's different ones that have jumps in them stuff. So I guess technically, yeah, there's not a narrative to it for sure. And no, I don't think you can be arrested. I think you can probably just be wrecked. Because again, there's no NPCs in this per se. So, and there's a number of these. There's like dozens and dozens of those types of scenarios, different races and chases and things like that. So, and it's all within the context of this pretty realistic driving simulator. And then there's also campaigns, and these are more long-term. You know, it's a series of scenarios essentially. There's fewer of those to do. A lot of them have to do with destruction. So yeah, I think it still stands that you know, whoever made this game has a little bit of a wee bit of a fetish for destroying stuff. Let's pop back into free mode here, and I'll show you some traffic as well as some other things that can be modified here. There's a way to modify the environmental settings, and by that it has to do with time of day, I think to some degree weather, and there's just presets here that are ready to pop into. And there is a way to turn on the headlights with the N key. So if you wanted to, you could drive around at night. Which, yeah, that's not gonna... This thing doesn't have very bright headlights, does it? But it's pretty decent looking, you know, skyboxes and stuff. And yeah, this would be intrepid to do with traffic, that's for sure. So one thing that I did notice is that whatever, if you were going to record a demo in this game, one of the things I found surprising is that you can't change the time of day in the demo. You can't. Like, it won't hold the change. Whatever time of day it was when you recorded the demo, that's the time of day it's going to play back in. It's kind of locked. So just a little tip that's helpful is go ahead and get the setting that you want for that before you record. What else can we do in environment here? You can also, I'm pretty sure, I haven't played it long enough to see this play out, but I'm pretty sure if you have this play box checked under the time, then it will actually advance the time gradually according to the scale here. You know, these are the default values. Apparently, it looks like night passes twice as fast as day, which I guess makes sense. And so you could have it, you know, where if you're going to be driving long term, it would actually maybe, like if you were driving at sunset, transition into night by driving long enough. So cloud speed and cloud cover, fog density, those things are all adjustable. I have never messed with the gravity thing, but you can choose the gravity of different planets, which would probably, you know, if you put it to the moon, for example, or I think the fun one would be to try and do like jumps with Jupiter's gravity. That would be interesting. And then cleaning up the tire marks, because it does leave leave tire marks. And then just adjusting the overall speed of things. So it doesn't appear that it has actual weather. Like you can't make it rain. Which is unfortunate, but that would require quite a bit of additional processing, I would think, with all the reflections and all that. So lots of control of the settings to adjust for graphics and stuff like that. This, you can define all the controls in here. I think it's under gameplay is where the traffic. Yeah. Let's see. There was some way to make it like start spawning traffic while I was running, but I can't remember how to do that. It's a little bit, it's not terribly intuitive, some of this stuff, but you can set the setting for start free roam with traffic. And then do you want there to be parked vehicles as well? Which we're going to say yes. Vehicle pooling has something to do with optimizing. It will spawn some extra vehicles, but it'll reuse some of the models a little bit more often to optimize things. This is enabled switching to traffic vehicles. That has something to do with what we were talking about. Yeah. And no, as far as I can tell, it does not export the footage. You'd have to capture that with an external tool. One thing that could be helpful with that is the fact that you can adjust the speed of the playback. So if you wanted to make sure you were getting a full frame rate that you were going to then later, you could basically record it at a slower rate to make sure you're getting all your frames, and then speed it back up to normal in your video edit. So let's relaunch here to get us some traffic going on. We'll go to the West Coast for that. Into Chinatown. The traffic isn't quite as fun or chaotic, I guess is the word, as, you know, GTA, where there's a little bit more personality going on, and this very much feels like robot-controlled vehicles. You know, they don't perilously overreact. You can still cause some chaos, as some of those videos that we've seen made with this show. You can still cause quite a bit of trouble. This one's taking a little while to load. Still loading, it looks like. So at some point here, the traffic should kick in, but I don't see it yet. Okay, there we go. See, stuff's still loading. There are some cars are going by, but they're still not loaded in yet. So we'll give it just a little bit more time to load things up. There are working traffic signals inside the cities. They operate in a pretty predictable, like it's a normal, orderly way. But yeah, there's no AI to any of this in terms of, like, you know, law enforcement or wanted levels or anything like that, like there would be in GTA. But thinking about it from a Machinima point of view, yeah, the thing that's most stark is the lack of pedestrians, right? So if you wanted a convincing driving scene here, I mean, there's nobody on the streets, and that would be, there's really no way to add that in post, right? I mean, that's just what it is. So within the cities, just looking at it from my typical needs, it doesn't make as much sense. But out here in the country a little bit, you figure if you were to put those crash test dummies inside the vehicles, all you would see of them in a view like what we're looking at right now is silhouette. And if they weren't important to the story, if they're just background, then it could actually work. And the only thing you have to worry about is your own vehicle. Like, there's really... In your own vehicle, you can tell it's a crash test dummy. I think it's, like, painted orange. Yeah, I don't know. I would think that you could import, like, your own mannequins or something. That would sure be helpful. But if so, I don't know how that's done. I haven't found anybody that's done that, and it's apparently was a really big deal when the existing mannequins and, you know, crash test dummies were added. I guess that wasn't an original feature of the game. And I don't know. The game's been around for a little over 10 years now. I have to feel like if there was a pretty straightforward way to bring in characters that look like people, it's hard to imagine that someone wouldn't have done that. Unless for some reason they wouldn't prohibit that in the terms of service, I wouldn't think. And why? Why would they? So yeah, it's I'm thinking that has to be either because it's just not it's more work than people have an incentive to put in. It's very possible just someone hasn't thought of it yet, but that just seems far out. But yeah, for general driving scenes, I think that this is nice. I mean, the fact that you can see so far, the fog helps with stuff at a distance continuing to look good. Oh, there's a cool tunnel. Yeah, just like I'd do it in real life. There we go. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. See, like, nobody panics. If I don't really mess with them, the most that they'll do is slow down. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. It makes me wonder, like, how in the world did the guy who did those videos, where all these wrecks happen, and like, the AI of the vehicles is no help at all. Like, it must have really taken some significant work to get those reactions, because you can see they're not. Nobody's panicking. Like, if you saw someone driving down the highway like this, you wouldn't just go, I'm going to keep driving. Some pretty cool features there. I saw the oil... What are those things called? They're not oil derricks. There's a term for those things. I can't remember what they are. Those things that pump up and down to get the oil out. The trees seem to have a little bit of movement sometimes from wind. I don't think the wind is a controllable element. But these are nicely designed maps. This is one of the factory maps for the West Coast. That almost looks like the Golden Gate Bridge over there. Let's see if I can get a better look at it. Doesn't it? It's definitely that style of suspension bridge. Let's see if we can get over there. I think I got to get up on this thing to get there. Huh. Somebody's doing something weird there. What were they doing? Okay, we can go on the lower part of this bridge, I guess. Because this map is called West Coast, so is this supposed to be... I don't know if the... Oh, it's not a double-decker bridge. It's like walkways or maybe bicycle paths up there or something. I think the Brooklyn Bridge is that way. At a glance, it looks like it's double-decker, but it's actually not. Oh, maybe that's trains up there. That's probably trains. Pump jacks, that sounds right. But we're just, yeah, so you can really cause some trouble. I've been fortunate that I think I'm hitting lower mass vehicles with my pickup truck. That it's still drivable, but when you damage the vehicle, it will actually, like if I damaged the drivetrain at all, it actually will list to one side or the other, and you have to like fight it. And it's not difficult to get the car in just a completely undrivable state. And it'll tell you what's wrong with it and stuff. You can blow the radiator or things like that. And don't. Oh, and you can do that. So yeah, I think we're probably undrivable at this point. Yeah. But hey, check out the roll cage on this thing. Oh, you have exchanged insurance information, it says. I've never noticed that before. That is wild. Wow. I don't know what they're waiting for. So yeah, I was intrigued by the fact that you could export the vehicle model in its wrecked state. That is an interesting feature. It would be really nice if it also brought the textures with it. And for some vehicles it does. But I think the one that I was trying it with was like was a mod vehicle, ambulance or something, and it just brought it over just vacant. But you can see like the vehicles actually break into parts, but somehow when you do the export, it knows which of those parts are yours and brings it with it in the configuration that it's laying in here. It's really interesting. And unfortunately there's not a way to export on a wider scale than that. But I guess if you could do that, you could like basically steal the whole game, right? And what would be really interesting, yeah, is if you could do some kind of export that involved multiple frames of animation, so to speak. That would be pretty, I would think that's extremely resource intensive, though. And that's not, that's not what I get the impression that's not what he set out. Whoever built this, it's not what they set out to design. There's some other areas here that I haven't even touched on myself. I don't know what the garage is, but I imagine this is where you can kind of outfit the cars in various ways and tune them up and change the paint and things like that, which, yeah. There is a photo mode in this game, and it's pretty nice. I mean, it's comparable to other games that have that type of mode where you can really take some nice looking pictures of things. Bus routes doesn't seem to pull up anything. The mod repository, this is basically a user interface to the user mods that are out there, and you can just search for them and download them right within the game. And there are quite a few. As of right now, it looks like it fits about a dozen on a page, and there's 484 pages. And some of them are little bitty things to just update one particular vehicle, or there's a lot of repaint mods that are very popular, where all the police cars are painted like a particular law enforcement agency in the country or something. There's one that all the emergency vehicles are decorated like they would be in New York, for example. And some of them are adding entirely new vehicles. Those are a bit more rare. And again, I think it's because of the amount of work involved in that. Whereas modifying existing vehicles, you know, doing custom works and that kind of thing is much more common. And yeah, they've had about 10 years to get this all built up, I guess. And then, of course, maps. There are a number of maps. I grabbed the biggest ones, which is this this Tennessee one. I think is the biggest one that I've found. And I grabbed this Desert Highway one. It's very large, but I needed some driving background scenery in a barren, almost futuristic, like not quite Mad Max type of landscape, and it was perfect for that. But the maps that are included with it are quite nice, and some of them are little racetracks, and some of them are intending to be more realistic areas. Let's try loading up the Tennessee one and see what happens. Let's see. This is the East Edge, US Route 40. This may take a little while to load. Let's see what happens. Yeah, this is the controller that I'm using. I think it actually is an Xbox controller. It's got the Xbox symbol on it. I don't have an Xbox. But I picked this up for intending to use it for No Man's Sky. But didn't end up. I just haven't played that game very much at all, so I never even used it with that. But it came in handy for this, and for certain scenarios where there's going to need to be flight control type of stuff or driving control type of stuff. The control that you can get from this thing is generally going to be superior to what you can get out of keyboard and mouse. So yeah, we are on US Route 40. I lived for many years in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, like Nashville area. I have no idea where Roane County is. It's still loading a little bit, and there's some of the LOD stuff is popping in as we go, but not bad. Not bad load time. It would be pretty neat to, if someone designed an area that you were from, or that you, an area that you knew. That would be pretty neat. So I can imagine if someone was from this area, and if you saw stuff recognizable, that would be pretty trippy. That is some that's some dark water. That is water, right? Sure looks like it. So anyway, that's BeamNG. And yeah, we could just start recording. And then we could just do something crazy here. Oh, they're actually honking at me. I don't have the headphones on, but I can hear it from over here. And the speeds that are available to the vehicles seems to be what you would expect. Like if we were in one of the ones that looks like a Lamborghini, yeah, it would be quite a bit faster than this. Okay. Yeah, and it like reports to you what specifically is damaged. The rear and front drive shafts, the oil pan. So yeah, that's going to be That's going to be an expensive repair, but we can just go back to the replay and load this up. It's not bad. It definitely, on a map this size with this much open area, it does struggle to load everything in a timely way. Like, there's some strange stuff there. That van's texture is like flashing or something. So it's not perfect. But if you think about the effort that would be involved in constructing an environment like this for use in iClone or Unreal Engine or something, it's crazy. So I would imagine if one could be, if you needed to do a driving sequence of some kind, if you were skillful with how you chose your camera shots, and you kind of have to cut around. Does that sign say Awful House? That's perfect. That's perfect. They've just switched the letters around. That's great. But yeah, if you were to cut around some of the weak spots, it could be usable. And it's definitely as good as any video game that I've seen that does this type of thing. So, but pretty limited application, I think. It is interesting that it's like trying to interpolate motion blur even when we're sitting still on the replay. That's strange. You notice it in some frames more than others. That's really weird. So yeah, it's a little bit glitchy. A little bit glitchy. When we pop into photo mode, it keeps playing. Yeah, when you go into photo mode, you can adjust the screenshot size, adjust the field of view, camera speed. So I think that has to do with like the shutter speed or something. Roll it. And what's weird is in photo mode, you can fully adjust the time of day. But it won't let you do that in a replay. You can even adjust the sun direction, which is a separate variable from time of day. So you could I would imagine you could tweak some of this stuff before recording and get some really interesting effects. Yeah, the depth of field controls are pretty elaborate. Very similar set of controls here as the cameras in iClone, for example. But that's just for the photo mode. So yeah, that's BeamNG. Good question. Let's see, if we change the sun direction... time of day would be easiest to notice, wouldn't it? So we change the time of day, we go back, it changes back. But that's because we were in a replay. Now, what if we're just in regular free roam mode? Let's test that out. I know the environment settings from the environment menu, those will hold. But I'm not sure about photo mode, so let's try this. I think time of day is the easiest. Nope. So photo mode does not hold those changes, which I guess makes sense, especially with regard to field of view. Yeah, you don't want to mess with the fog density too much, that's for sure. Let's close with a little bit of moon gravity. We're going to take her over a jump here in a moment. And we'll make it morning time. Some of the shadow edges are a little bit movie stormish, aren't they? All right, that's a good time of day. We'll turn on the day. Oh yeah, you see, I've got it playing. It's actually changing time of day based on that rate. Okay. So we'll leave it fixed. And we are driving in moon gravity now, so I'm peeling out without even trying to, because the vehicle's not heavy enough to grip the ground. I've not seen a lunar rover. It's possible there's one in here. But yeah, because the vehicle is so light in this gravity, it's really having trouble. I'm just hydroplaning all over the place here. I was wanting to get like a good leap. Oh, there we go. Huh. Yeah. Behaves really strangely. Alright, so what if we do the gravity something a little bit more? If we do Jupiter's gravity, is it going to like pull me to the ground? It is. Look how low it's riding now. Yeah, it did that automatically. I don't know if it's picking that up from Steam or what, but I've never entered that into the game. And actually, yeah, I don't know where it's got that, because I think my Steam name has the ZS on it, so I'm not sure how it got that, but it was automatic. So yeah, now we're really gripping the ground here. It's going to be pretty difficult to skid out at all now, I think, because we're driving in Jupiter's gravity here. I'm assuming that gravity affects the traffic vehicles too, but I haven't seen any of them yet. Let's see if we can find some traffic. Boy, the turning is excellent in Jupiter's gravity. Oh, you know what? There's probably not a whole lot of traffic on this map because it's a racetrack. I'm assuming that the traffic patterns are definable based on map regions somehow. Well, anyway, that is BeamNG. So overall, might have some usage. Yeah, the traffic could be planet specific. That's right. That's right. I don't even know what the Oh! That is kind of awesome. This is Pluto's gravity. I don't think I'm going to be able to go anywhere. Just peeling out. So I guess the reason that it bounced me up was because Jupiter had me pulled to the ground so much. But yeah, I can't get any grip at all. Okay, so that means we need to... Will this be helped at all if we get one of the heaviest vehicles that we can... maybe the bus, but maybe one of these has a trailer. It doesn't seem like there's a full... Oh, there we go, cement truck. That's got to be heavy. All right, yeah, nothing to see here. Just a cement truck driving on Pluto, man. In the sand, of course. Come on now. Yeah, it's struggling a bit. Is that really the way the turning works on a cement truck? There's two pairs of turning wheels in the front? How did I make it to my age and never noticed that before? Is that real? Yeah, this isn't going great. I do like that it beeps when you back up. Engine is starved of oil. We've already burned up our oil just trying to move. Anyway, some fun stuff to play with there, I'm sure. But, you know, overall, is this a game I'm going to spend a whole lot of time with? No. Probably not. I do like it for some of the fake projection screen driving footage that I need for a couple little projects. But, you know, in terms of being immensely useful as a part of the toolkit, not so much. And I'm just not really, I don't know. There are some funny moments to drive and crash and stuff, but it's just like, that gets old like really quick for me. So it's probably not one that I'll be spending a whole lot of time with, but I'm glad that I looked at it. It's one that I would have been curious about if I hadn't. And if Steam ever gets around to doing the kind of family sharing that they've been talking about, that there's like hints to it, but it doesn't quite work right yet. When my daughter heard that I got this game, she was quite excited. She likes to drive around in GTA and stuff. But I think she may end up finding this a little bit lackluster too, because, well, first of all, GTA, I think part of what she enjoys about that is that it's multiplayer, so she's on there with her friends. And this is not an online game at all. And then there's also the kind of chaos and the goofy, almost cartoonish reactions of the pedestrians in that game, and the police chasing you, and all of those AI-related elements that this just doesn't have. So I'll be curious if she does play this. No, she doesn't really like crashing, but she likes driving fast. Fortunately, she's not that way behind the wheel in real life. But that's the kind of game that she seems to gravitate to, that type of game, whether it's something simple like in Roblox or whether it's in GTA. But no, she's actually quite a very safe and careful driver in real life. So all right, well, I'm not going to stretch out the stream here. There's not another hour's worth of content to squeeze out of this game. So I think I will, I'll call it a day a little bit early this time and begin lining up what to do for the next stream. Still waiting on Reallusion to fix the iClone plants bug, which is very annoying. That project is... I don't know if I realized how dependent that project was on grass and weedy bits. Oh, they did? Was that today or something? Because I guess I haven't checked Reallusion. Updated on Thursday. I didn't see it. Do you have the ability to check what your version number is on iClone right now? I thought sure that I checked it just yesterday, but maybe I'm remembering the days wrong. I'll go ahead and fire up the hub here too. Holy cow, man. You're right. I swear I checked this. Maybe it was Thursday, because it had been a week since they said, and I just may not have gotten to even check it yesterday. Unbelievable. That is terrifically good news. I'm assuming that you're on this 8.5.3306. Yeah, 8.5.3306. Last time I checked it, which must be Thursday then. I must have checked it right before they released it or something. For some reason, I feel like I did that yesterday, but I guess I didn't. Oh. You're on 3330. Well, I am shy an update, and when I last checked, there were none available. So, I'll definitely install this, and, heck, let's do it now. Shouldn't take but a second. We'll see if we got working plants. I did get one shot done while I've been waiting for this, and that was the photo that the guy in that short film, the photo that he picks up and looks at. I went ahead and framed and rendered the still for that photo because I didn't need any plant life for that. Oh, what I was reading was the existing version. Okay. We'll confirm and make sure here. I did a whole bunch of prop importing, prop and character, like a whole bunch of character rigging and prop building and stuff like that. But it's for the shorts down the road. 3330.1, that's exactly what you said. Okay. So, there we go. We're good. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Years worth, yeah. Years worth. A number of shorts, and I've deliberately left myself the freedom to get inspired and let stuff kind of cut the line for short films. But in the queue behind those, behind some of those, several longer form productions that if I worked at them at the pace that I'm able to do with my current job situation, stuff like that, yeah, it'll keep me busy for 4 or 5 years. At least. I say that not only having a general idea of how to gauge how long, you know, some of the longer form stuff is going to take. But there's been plenty of planning, you know, so I'm not starting from zero on any of them. But yeah, I've got a lot lined up, and I'm pretty excited about it. A lot of it has been accruing and accumulating when my kids were younger, and you know, obviously required different requirements, you know, of my time for them. And so I'm in that the kids are, well, one of them's out of the house and one of them's almost out of the house, and so the needs have changed, right? They're a little bit more independent, and so I'm able to pour some more time into this again. So yeah, I've got some biggies lined up. I'm really excited about it. Thank you. All right, I'm going to take off for today, and I will be back. I think Saturday is going to be, at least for right now, Saturday is going to be the day that I do streams. I tried it 3 days a week for a while there, and that worked for a while, but it's not something I can hold consistently because of work needs. So, but Saturdays pretty much always work, unless I'm going to be out of town or something. So we'll see you next weekend.